Okay. I think we're live. Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome. We are going to be working on a train case today with inlays, and I'm so excited to share with you. I really need to finish this up, and basically, thank you because if I say I'm going to do this live, then it's my motivation to get it done. So I just have so many projects going on. And anyway, if you pop on here, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to go ahead and bring up there we go. Okay. So I got this sweet little train case a couple of years ago. And I think I mentioned, I just let it sit. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I knew I really wanted it and that something could be done with it. So if you see inside, it's got this blue interior. And so I thought that this was like a really nice match. And so this happens to be the Morocco inlay. And I've already done the sides here. And you'll see this whole process when I edit the video and post it to YouTube. But I still have half of the bottom and this side and then this top that I want to do. So I want to do this all with the inlay. And so I'm going to share with you that once I did this, I had done this part once and it didn't turn out very well. And so I took it off and I did end up getting a little bit of a smear. Hi, Debbie, how are you? And so I did get a little bit of a smear. So to prevent that going forward, what I did was I went ahead and I went outside and I sprayed this with 2 coats of a clear acrylic sealer. There are lots of spray sealers out there. You could mix a little polyacrylic and water, but I already had this. And so I didn't have to mix anything up. I went ahead and took it outside. So now this is protected and I shouldn't have, well, we hope it's protected and I shouldn't have anything that's going to smear this, okay? So also when working with inlays, it's really important to have, we're going to use a sponge and we're going to have some water that we can mist. I've got my paint, of course. I'm going to be using the Wise Owls Antique Villa. It's the chalk synthesis style paint. I find that I'm getting really good results with the chalk synthesis style. But I have used it with an all-in-one paint, and that is a little bit different. You just have to, whatever your favorite paint is, use some scraps, ask your stockist maybe for a piece or something like that that you can practice with, or even better, go to a workshop, something like that, just so that you get familiar with it. You're, of course, going to need scissors and your paint brushes, that kind of thing, okay? So the first thing that I did was I went ahead, all of the inlay sheets have these little white borders around them. So you'll see that I've already cut this off right here. And what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go from this area on the bottom, and I want to go right up here to under these. So I'm going to go ahead and lift these up for one. And I'm going to go ahead and take my inlay and I'm going to try to match it up. It might be a little bit bigger on one side, but I want to get it as close. When I say bigger, the design might be a little off, but it's on the bottom, and I did that intentionally. And so I'm just going to kind of hold that in place, fold this over, and get an idea of where I want to cut this. And so I've got that mark right here. The grid lines on these are fabulous. So you'll see that they have little grid lines. The grid lines do not transfer to your project, so you don't have to worry about that. So inlays are something that took me a long time to get on board with. But now that I have used them and found out what works best for me, I am in love. And they just take a little practice, like everything else that we're doing. So I'm going to set this aside. I don't throw any of my pieces away. They can be used for something else. I'm going to test it again just before I go on to the next step and see if that's going to be about right. And actually, I think I could cut just a little more off. It's just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to cut one more. So it's always good to measure again, even though you think you've got it. We can all make mistakes when we're doing that. I'm definitely going to need some glasses here. So this is how I do this. I just piece it. I go one section at a time on something like this. And a project like this, because of the side panels and all of that, it really does lend itself to piecing it together. So I'm just cutting this bit off, just like this. Okay, and so I'll set that aside. I want to make sure that I've got it going in the direction that I want it to go. I do. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to get my antique Villa paint. I am going to apply this to wet paint, and I'm going to try to come up close. I have an angled brush if I need it, but I'm coming right up to that line with wet paint. Okay, and I'm going to be generous with it, but I don't want to paint over my design, if that makes sense, right? Because we've done that work, but it is sealed. So that helps, because once you wet this again, what happened was that I didn't seal this section, and when I went to mist it, it ran. So I went ahead and took the whole thing off. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this paint over the entire section. Got a hair right there. I don't know. Oh no, that's just drippy paint. Okay, so I'm going to go over this entire section here because I want to be able to do this in kind of one fell swoop. This train case has a little bit of a rough area over here, so I really think that we're going to see a little bit of distressing in this, but I am not worried about it. I'm going to just come up here. I don't even mind that I'm going over. I just want to get some good paint on my case. It's chalk synthesis paint, so I can always wipe that back. Okay, I'm going to come here where it may have even started to dry a little bit and just get a little bit more. Okay, let's see if we can do that. And I'll just come through here and I'm going to get up around these handles here. I decided to just go right underneath them. Okay, and I'm going to set this. I'm trying to get the handle to make it stand up. All right. Whoops. Okay, hold on. This is a little bit awkward to do this side, but let's just see what we can do. Okay, I'm going to actually just set it this way or like that. Okay, let's do that. All right, let me get this off so that I don't cover up my paint. All right, and now I'm going to take this and I'm going to carefully line it up where I think I want it. Okay, and I might still have that gap. Might not line up perfectly right here. I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to smooth this. I'm even going to go over. I'm going to do a little cut right here where the little foot is. Whoops. And see if that doesn't help. And I'll do that here as well. I don't want to let my paint dry. So I'm just going to cut and see if we can get it down there. So I'm using my hands to smooth this into place, into the wet paint. I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to lift up these handles and I'm going to go right underneath in here. Okay. Trying to keep it smooth so that my wrinkles don't distress my paint too much. Okay. I'm going to push it down into here. Just like I'm going to just do a little cut here and see if I can get that to come there just like that. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz this. I think we are definitely going to have a little distressing. I'm going to have some wrinkles up here. It's not an easy spot to do. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz all over with my mister bottle. I'm coming underneath it too. I just want to get all of those areas wet. Okay. And then I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to push it down into my paint. Okay. with that wet sponge. I'm even going to wet my sponge a little bit, dampen that even a little bit more. Okay. And I'm pushing this down into that paint. Okay. And it also helps with the sponge when you're pushing. I'm able to work out some of those wrinkles. So let's see what happens. Like I said, it may wrinkle. And I've got a little bit here that I want to do. Okay. I'm just pushing that down into there. I am going to have a few wrinkles. I like a little bit of distressing. So good on me. I'm going to get it. And then we're going to do this part as well. Okay. I'm going to just spritz that a little bit more, just a little damp. And we're pushing, just kind of smoothing that out. I don't rub because I'm always a little concerned about, I don't want to smear it. But the inlays are with the grid lines and they're all meant to be connected or used separately. Here it is not quite wet. You can tell because the paper will look dry, and I do have a little bit of wet paint on there, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, so this is going to dry. I'm going to turn this over very gently and let that dry while we do. I should have gotten my triangles out, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. So I'll set it gently, and now what I want to do is I want to work on this part right up here. So I want to work on the lid. I thought about painting the lid. I thought that would work out really well, but I thought maybe I will, just do something a little differently. So this one is a little bit different. I actually could do the ribbon around, this little trim piece around the front, but I'm going to try. I kind of would like, I'm seeing where this actually meets up down here, but this isn't big enough. So right now what I'm doing is just seeing where I might want this to go. And I could do, like, I think I would, I thought about doing this around the top, but I think I'm just going to work with this and just kind of piece it together, even though it's not going to be an exact match. So I'm going to do this and we'll kind of cut around the handles just a little bit. So this could work, or I could take a whole other sheet and just start from scratch and use these for something different. So let me grab another sheet. This particular one comes with 8 sheets. And so this is the little white piece here that I was telling you about. I don't have to cut it for this particular project because the inlays are, it's on a white surface. It's not, it kind of matches up. So I think I will go to about here. I'm going to go a little bit bigger just so we can get, I'm just going to cut some of this off at about here because I really don't need that much, but I'm going to have to piece it and cut it around there. So let me get these. Let me go ahead and cut this piece off. I just loved it on this particular one. And I just thought it was brilliant that the colors in the inlay actually work so well with the interior color. So I'm going to start here and just kind of get an idea. So now I'm going to lift these up, make these loose so that I can get underneath there. Okay. And I don't necessarily want that to, I can open it up like this here and go in here. Okay. And then I can turn it here. Let's just see where I'm going to need to cut. That's good right where it is. And then I have these little bits here. So I am going to cut again. This is going to be this piece. So I'm going to cut here instead of cutting around my handles. I think I'm just going to do 2 pieces that I do together and just hope that I get them lined up as well as I would like to. Okay, so I've got this piece is going to go to here, okay? And now I want to work with this piece to see where I want that. And I'm not going to go over that. So I really kind of want to, how do I want to do that? I'm trying to think. I could kind of come down here with this. Let me try that. I think it's going to match up, and I can fill in with a little bit of paint if I need to. So I'm going to cut this strip right here. And so this is going to be for this side. And then this about right here is going to be for that side, I think. Let's see how we do, okay? I think I got this. I'm not 100% sure. I knew this part was going to be tricky, so, you know, no pressure to do it live and have it like, you know, flop, but we'll see what happens, okay? And so now here, what I want to do is I've got this little bit here, and I'm going to want to cut off. I'm looking at where that goes. So I'm just going to want to maybe do a little trim here around that handle. Let's see if I got that. Yep, I got that. And I'm going to want to do a little trim here, just going to that bit. And then let's see if we can get that to come in place like this. And then I will cut off about here. I'll see if I can get that to go, and we'll cut it like that. So I'm just trying to cut around the handles. I can take an artist brush and, you know, fill in a few areas. And if I have to do that, I'll show that on the video. So I've got this here, and then I'm just going to cut here, and let's see if I've ruined it or if we're going to be able to piece that together. And I'm going upside down, so hold on. Okay, so let's see if we're going to be able to piece this together a little more easily. I think so, but we're just going to have to get in there and try. Okay, so I'm going to set these here, down here, and we're going to start with this. Okay, we're going to start with this piece here. I am going to go ahead and cut off this little white edge here just to make it a little bit easier. It's a little bit of a tight fit. Okay, so let's see if I've got that there. I could tape these into place. I'll cut this side off too, and we'll go from there. Okay, all right, so let's go with that. All right, and I am going to have to cut the white bits off. So I'm just going to carefully trim this piece, trying not to cut over my paint, the decorative part of the paint. All right, so let's go with that. All right, and then I've got this one. Do I have any little white bits to do? I think I'm going to do these first and then this one last. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over, and we're going to go up here, and I may have to piece in a little bit, and that's okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that bit. I cut a little too far off, and I'm not sure if I want that to be at the handle or if I want to let that sit there and maybe do a little trim. So I think I'm going to get it closer to the handle, and then I'll just do a little trim piece down here, and we'll do it that way. Okay, so this is the tricky part because I'm doing these in the pieces, and it would be much easier just to do one piece, but I'm going to give this a shot. Okay, so I'm painting the top of this. I'm sorry you can't see. I'm just wanting to be, I want to get that on there. And so I'm putting my wet paint down. Here and here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line it up. This is where I'm going to line it up. I'm going to put this where I want it here, just like that. Okay. It's not quite there, but that's okay. And I'm going to push it down and I will fill in back here. All right. So I'm pushing that down. I'm not going to hit it with water yet. I'm going to go ahead and just put that in place, just like that. Okay. And now I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to cut this. Okay. And I'm going to come here and we're going to line that up about there. I think it is here that lines up. Yeah, it lines up right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some more paint down. Being careful not to get too close here. This was the part I was nervous about, but I thought, well, we'll just figure it out, right? We'll just figure it out. All right. So I'm going to line this up again, right? Here is where it gets lined up. Is that where it gets lined up? Or was it here? Trying to find out where I lined that up. I'm going to go, or was it here? I wonder if I did this one. Is this, no, that's not the one that lines up. So let's go here. Should have, there we go. All right, so we're going to go here. I'll line it up as best as I can. Push that down in place, just like that. Hoping that I had enough wet paint right here. Okay, pushing that down. Okay, and now we're going to do this other one. Doing the same thing, and we're going to hold our breath and see if this works, okay? I am doing the piecing on the fly live, Debbie, because I don't know, I'm either a glutton for punishment or I just appreciate the moral support. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably a little bit of both. But yes, I am piecing together on the fly, because isn't that what we do? We're trying, if I think out loud and I tell you what my thought process is, either A, you're going to avoid doing what I did, or you'll see that, you know, it can work out and you just try it. But I think this is just going to be so pretty, hoping that it turns out better on this side now. All right, so now I want to, this one had this little bit here. So I had this strip and it made sense at the time, but I am thinking that I may have, oh no, it is right. Okay. So now what I want to do is see where this gets lined up. I think I want to line it up down here. We're just going to go with it. I'm going to line it up. Got to turn this a little bit and line this up. Just like this. Okay, and I want to come close. So it had that edge. Okay, and I need wet paint. I don't think it's going to be perfect around the handles, but I'll figure out what I can do. Maybe blend some paint in there or something like that. All right, so now those are done. Okay, now those are in place. Okay, and now we can take this piece and see if we can get that there. So you see, I've got these gaps like right here, but I'm going to figure those out and we'll get that going. All right, let's go ahead and do our wet paint here. Again, I'm being careful not to go over it. Okay, and I'm going to come in here. We'll do that. Get that going. I'm holding my breath a little bit, guys. So hopefully it's going to be okay. We'll just see. It's going to be what it's going to be. And I always have yet another sheet. So I'm going to turn this like this for right now, just so I can get in here, hoping you guys can see. I'm going to come in here, pushing paint in down here. I want to get all of my pieces in before I activate that paint too much. Okay. So now I'm going to line this up again as best as I can using my grid marks. Pushing it down with my hands. And then I'm going to gently, whoops, kind of gently, I'm going to come here. I'm going to actually push through here, push through those little knobs. Okay, and I didn't quite trim that completely, but it doesn't go all the way down. So if I get paint all the way down there, and I'm even going over the luggage tag. All right, so now what I want to do is the same thing that we did before. I'm going to take my spritzer and I'm going to spritz with my handle. And this will activate the paint. Are you guys holding your breath? Oh my gosh, are you? Oh, thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate it. All right, let's do this. I'm going to wet my sponge also. And then we're going to push in there. Make sure that that is damp. Push into place. Going all over. So you want to make sure that your paint is wet when you're doing this. So hopefully mine didn't dry too much. And now I'm going to just kind of push in here. So I do have these gaps. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those, but I will come up with something for sure. And then we'll be able to check and see if the other side is dry. And we'll be able to lift. So this top part is definitely going to be a little more of a distressed appearance. And I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm going to just go right in there. Okay, so we're going to let this, I see I've got to get, that's a little wet. I want to check around and make sure that it's wet where I want it to be wet. And that could just be a little bit of paint coming through. Okay, so we're going to let that sit. And now let's check on this part here. Okay, so this is the part that we did before. I'm hoping you can see the difference that this is not quite dry, but it is drying. So I'm going to gently take this here and I'm going to try it with my heat gun. I really should let it just dry on its own, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to hit it with a little heat, and that way we can see if we can get this to go. I'm a little nervous. I'm just going to be honest. You are what? Holding your breath, Debbie? Are you holding your breath? Oh my goodness. Cross your fingers too then if you're doing that. Okay. Cross your fingers, say a prayer. Okay, what you'll be able to tell I'm going to see if I can hold this up a little bit. But what you'll be able to tell is that it's darker here, but see how it gets light again, like the backing paper? That is when it's dry. That's how you'll be able to tell it's dry. It's still a little damp right here. Let me go ahead and dry that. And all we're going to do is wet it again. So let's see how we do. Okay, it's not completely dry. And I can see all the wrinkles, so just be prepared because it's going to be a little distressed, maybe a lot distressed. Do any of you know a really good way? Oh, thank you, Debbie. Fingers and toes crossed. Thank you. Do any of you know a really good way to clean? There is some fabric in there, but there is part of it that is like a vinyl. And I have used, I tried soap and water. It's got a little bit of, it's old. I tried soap and water. I tried rubbing alcohol. I tried hand sanitizer, all of that. And I cannot, for the life of me, get it to get completely clean. So if anybody has a good method for cleaning something vinyl, that would be awesome. All right, you guys, here it comes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spritz this again. And I'm actually going to wet my sponge, because what we're redoing is activating that paint again. So I'm going to really press in. It's going to be wet, wet, wet. You're going to see it darken up again. And I'm going to lift up these handles, do as best as I can, getting in here. Okay, wet my sponge some more. I want to make sure that it's wet again. I know it seems funny that we just dried it and now it's wet. So this is why when you're working in sections, it's really good to have your finished sections sealed, because water is going to drip. And until these are sealed, they are susceptible to running. All right, guys, are we ready? All right, let's see. Okay, I'm going to start by just picking up a little piece and seeing if I have any transfer of paint. It's not really great right up there. It is going to be very distressed. And I'm going to push here because I didn't get a lot of transfer there. It didn't go really, really well. Can piece in. It's very, very distressed. And this is kind of what happened on this particular section. And I'm not really sure why, but this is what happened last time. Either I really should have just let it dry on its own, or it looks really good, much better on the bottom than it does there. So this didn't turn out that this is exactly what happened on this section the last time. So I am what to do. I'm going to dry it first and then we're going to figure something out. This is what happens. So if I can do this, yeah, back down and redo. Yeah, I'm going to actually lay something down, but I'm going to lay a fresh piece down, at least on these sides. This doesn't bother me as much, but this bothers me a lot. So I probably am going to cut a piece here and we will just kind of fill in. Let's see if we can do that. I will just paint over that. And I'm probably going to have some, I'll have to be careful, because when I put the wet paint on it, it's going to smear. So it's a little bit different. Let me see if it still needs a little drying right here. The other ones I was able to just like walk away from and, let them dry. And you saw how crisp and clear those are. But let's just, if this happens to you, it's really important to me that we just like work it out, because I I struggled with these for a while, but this is the section that did not go well the last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my baby wipes. Hold on. If I just put white paint over this, it's just going to create these other colors, right? So I am going to go ahead and wipe back at least these areas with the baby wipe. You can see how it, just picks up the paint. So if I did the white paint over that, it's just going to do the same thing. It's basically going to blend in, and we'll have a seascape on here, which could also be pretty, but it's not what we're going for. Okay. So I'm going to here, and I'm going to clean off these sections right here. But this is what I had to do the first time. So this was the part that was super scary. But I am determined that we're going to figure it out. It also has a little bit of a rough surface here. So I'm going to go here and see if I can get that to be a little bit better. Just kind of pick this up. I want to be able to paint over that. So let's see if we can do it this way. I have some more of those strips. I've got the wet one that I'm just going to go ahead and set aside so that can dry out. And then let's see where I have a longer strip. Will that be enough? That will be enough. So I will go ahead and cut that. Okay. And let's see if I can get that to kind of line up here. I can. All right. So let's try it again. I actually am going to use my angled brush here. So I have a little more control over where the paint is going. So I'm going to apply some more paint. I'm going to come right in here. Okay, get right here where it's kind of, try to go in a straight line. And I'm going to line this up right down here. Place that down. I'm going to cut a corner here. Maybe that will help a little bit too. So I'm going to cut a corner where it goes under the handle. Can you hear me thinking out loud? So yeah, I'm going to I could redo the whole thing, but I think I'm okay with a little distressing, just not as distressed as this was. So I'm going to put a little more paint down here. And I got some white paint on that, so that'll definitely be distressed. Okay. And now I'm just going to use my sponge instead of misting it, because I'll end up taking all of that other off. If I mist it, it'll just run everywhere. Okay, so I'm using my sponge to wet that paint. Okay, let's see if this works before I do the whole thing. So let's see how we are on the top while that's drying. this is about to dry. This is almost dry. It's not quite dry here, and it's not quite dry there. I'm going to lift up just a little bit if I can and see if I have any transfer. No, it's not dry yet. All right. So I think I'm going to let this dry and then come back on. I'm going to leave it just like this so you can see like where it's pieced together. But I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and let this dry on its own without a heat gun. And then I'll come back in a little bit when it is, and we'll just do the part 2. Okay. And I may piece together, some more of this. So I'll leave this in place so we can see if it worked. And I'm just going to let this dry on its own, and then I'll come back and we'll just do a part 2. Yeah, because I don't want to have to do the whole thing over again. So anyway, so that's things happen. So you can see like really crisp and easy, not so easy. So we're just going to see, but I am going to go ahead and let it dry on its own, and I will come back and when we're ready to pull off. Okay. All right. Thanks for hanging in there with me. We're going to figure it out. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in a bit. All right. I'll be back like maybe in an hour or so. All right. Take care, everybody. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.